Welcome back to another episode of Trust in the Force. I'm your host, Vactor. I'm here with the host with the most, Jedi Grandmaster, Super Tim. Tim, how are you doing today?
Fantastic. I have to know, though, I think the public is wanting to know, did this episode live up to Vector's huge expectations?
Oh man, we are going to get into that. But first, we have a guest all the way from Fuse Film and the Dads to the Future podcast, Mr. Kevin Call. How are you doing today, sir?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me, gentlemen.
You've
Coffee,
actually been
coffee,
on this
coffee.
show before. We talking about the Acolyte. We had a great time talking
Hmm.
all about that. Now we want to get you talking about Skeleton Crew for the first time. So Kevin, welcome to the
Thank you.
Skeleton Crew. And yes, we as Tim alluded to, this was my most anticipated episode. But I'm gonna go last. I'm gonna give you my thoughts. I'm gonna tease it. So you gotta wait until my time in the sun comes. Let's get our guest Kevin Call's thoughts first on this episode. Skeleton Crew, episode 7. We're going to be in so much trouble. Kevin, what did you think?
Yeah, so this was the episode I was waiting for. Not that like any of the previous episodes were bad or anything like that, so I don't want people to interpret the context of that statement that way. It's more of it seemed like this is where everything was headed, right? And but I thought at some point there was going to be a bait and switch, like this could be like kind of like a Stargate universe situation, or like a what's that Scott Bakula series, the
Quantum
Quantum
Leap.
Leap. Yeah, like a Quantum Leap situation where they just like they're so close to home but they're not really ever going to get there, and so I actually like that they were able to um you know spoiler alert, get home, and sort of what led to that, especially given the way that the last episode ended. And what I like that they've done with Jude Law's character is I think there was this thought that he was going to be this like Obi-Wan type figure for them, this sort of like
Mhm.
fun Jack Sparrow type space pirate, hanging out with a bunch of kids. But he's like a bad dude. And like he's really showing his colors. And I thought that like they doubled down on that in this episode. And I was excited to see that. Um, but yeah, I think those are my initial reactions. Like, just that's what I wanted to see, and then getting to see the planet from an exterior view, I think was really neat. Getting to see the barrier and what that was all about.
It was
Um,
huge.
I thought one of the biggest drops in the episode that I heard was that the New Republic is aware of this stronghold. They said that go find a New Republic official. They know how the secret to the barrier. Isn't that what they said? Am I quoting that
I think they
wrong?
said Republic official,
A
so
Republic official.
which
So
which is very vague. It could be any
vague,
era of the
right? Yeah, I
Republic.
guess it could be a New Republic official. It could be something else. I don't know. But so I thought that was interesting that they dropped that. Um, yeah, I mean, and I thought this was some of the best acting of the kid
Mm.
actors that we've
Mm.
seen all season. I mean, their acting's been great, but this in particular, this episode, because it made them show a very wide range of emotions
Right.
throughout the episode, to joy, to fear, to all that. I continue to think Fern is like my favorite character out of all of the kids, because she just kind of exudes this tough, like Leia would be proud. Like I think her and Leia would get along in a lot of ways. So yeah, I don't know if we do 5 out of 5 or 5 stars or what the grading scale is here, but I mean, this is the best episode of the season. Then
Mm.
again, I'm excited about what the last episode holds here and next week. Um, my only knock, and it's a nitpick, right? I get that it's a pirate show at its heart, and it's treasure hunting show with the kids and all that. Um, I'm almost kind of like I could have done without the lightsaber. You know,
Ooh.
like, can we have one
Hmm.
Star Wars thing that's not Andor that doesn't have lightsabers in it? You know what I mean?
Mm.
But at the same time, swords are very much a big part of pirate culture and pirate stories and swashbuckling and stuff like that. Um, but there's not really any swashbuckling, right? Like he just
Right.
has the lightsaber and he's using it
Yeah.
very like scarily, by the way, because he's not a
Mhm.
Jedi, but he has this like inferior weapon, and he's cutting
He
off.
still knows how to use it though.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
he has had
yes.
some training.
There is
Yeah.
some of that, yeah, and so it does make you wonder more and more mystery boxes around
Mm.
his character, his origin, and all that kind of stuff. So anyway,
Yeah.
those are my reactions to the episode. I know we'll talk more as the conversation goes, but it was good. I mean, I thought it was just a really well, the scale of it, the seeing the ship land, the platforms. Again, this is some of the best practical and CGI work that a show has done. Um, I think
I
the
feel
Acolyte had tons of really great um, exterior stuff, but when it came to like the real intimate stuff, you could tell you were like on a studio somewhere,
Mhm.
or you were on the island or whatever. But
Volume.
you know, and then we've talked Mandalorian in the past where they got so used to using the volume, it was like starting to look a little cheesy. So just great production value that this series has been bringing. So
Yeah, I was gonna say this one, I think you can really see the budget. Like I feel like this
Uh-huh.
is a big budget show,
mhm.
whereas the Acolyte, the only time I felt like that was in like at the very end when they were having that space battle. I was like, oh, this feels like they spent a lot of money
Or,
here.
or episode 5 where they had that huge lightsaber fight with Chimera and all the different Jedi. That's
Yeah.
when I felt like, okay, well now we got it. I see where the money is here.
Yeah. This one with we saw the huge stop motion crab, the space battles, the droids. Like I feel like this show feels like a Star Wars movie, and I think that's a good
Mhm.
thing. Super Tim, what'd you think about episode 7?
I love this episode. I've been loving every episode that's been coming out of this show. The show has been consistently good, much better than the Acolyte. And there were a lot of things that I liked about the Acolyte, but this one, because Vactor has been bringing me along this train ride, I've been like, okay, episode 7, here we go. Like, here we go. And I was expecting, because Jude Law's been saying you're going to learn more about Jod's character, you're going to learn more about his motivations, and his motivations are going to be made clear. I was expecting a little bit some flashback sequences,
Yes. Mhm.
and don't get me wrong, I thought episode was great, but I thought we were going to get something that was going to flash back to his time, where it would like flesh out like what kind of training he had.
Right.
We saw what kind of training he had. He knows how to use a lightsaber. So obviously, since he knows how to use a lightsaber, his little force pulls and pushes have not been fake. So we got a like little bit of kind of subtextual answers there. Um, I love the ship stuff with the Onyx Cinder. Um, because prior to the show coming on, it was revealed the Lego set for the Onyx Cinder. Uh, this episode made me want to buy that thing.
Yes. That is a
And
nice design.
I really like the ship battles. I love all the like all the kids were on full cylinders, like all the different emotions. Fern standing up to Jod, and Wim like expressing, like, oh, like this has been a great adventure, but it's almost over, kind of stuff. And I have to put out an in memoriam for our good friend SM33,
I said
who,
no. I audibly said no when that
I
happened.
so did I, because if you've been listening or watching us here at Trust in the Force, I've been holding up the flag for SM33. Still waiting for my Funko Pop figure. Um, and so I, like, when I saw that, I said, "Oh man!" I mean, Brutus deserved what he got. He got shot by Jod. He deserved it. He deserved it. And Jod's "I'm the captain now" moment was great. Jude Law was fantastic throughout this entire episode. He's been really great throughout this entire show, but this episode, and specifically, you saw, him like kind of like moving the pieces, to taking over the frigate, to taking over the Onyx Cinders. Like, this ship's mine. It's like, nah, I can't do that.
Can I
And
interrupt for 1 minute? Like,
sure, go
because
ahead.
one thing about Jude Law's performance in this particular episode, I think ties back to the influence of John Watts and on this show. Because if anybody in the audience has seen Cop Car or seen Spider-Man,
Cop
especially
Car's a
the
great
first
film.
one, Homecoming, those
Yeah.
scenes where you have Keaton or Kevin Bacon in that really isolated, claustrophobic sort of
Hmm.
situation where this guy means business and he's going to kill you like
Yeah.
if you're out of line. Like I felt like they went that direction with Jude Law in this episode,
Like
especially.
the scene with Keaton and
Yeah,
Holland in the car.
yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's exactly what I'm referencing. Like there's just like that to me is the John Watts influence into
Uh-huh.
like the performance and the scene and stuff like
Yeah.
that. And Jude Law, who, it's funny, coming out of the holiday season, right? Everybody chews up his movie The Holiday during this
Hmm.
time of year.
I did.
And it's
I did.
yeah, I mean I did too. So coming out of that movie and then seeing this performance, I'm like,
Yeah.
wow, this is a very different Jude Law. And I don't count
Uh-huh.
like Miss Marvel or
Captain
because like
Marvel.
or Captain Marvel because like I felt like he was a little campy in that movie, right? So it's a little different. So yeah.
Yeah,
Man,
yeah, his performance here was great. Like, also really like him at the end of the episode when he's like touching the credits and they all
Oh
start
yeah,
falling down,
falling down and
and my
yeah,
first thought is like, whoever set up these things, all that work.
I
I would
you
know.
hate
know,
to be that guy.
I was
I would
I
hate to
was
be that guy.
I was rewatching that scene and I was wondering how much were those physical and how much were digital? Because I was like,
Uh-huh.
there's a world where he's acting to nothing and there's nothing falling on his hands and his face. And I was just wondering, I wish we would get like a full on behind the scenes on each episode, but
Yeah.
that was a great moment for, like you said, learning about his motivation, learning about who Jod is. And let's get to my expectations because we've been
Here we
leading up
go.
to it
Here we go.
on Trust in the Force
I'm
for
sitting back.
weeks now. I've been saying episode 7 is the one because Jude Law was like, "You're gonna get all the answers, you're gonna get," and he said this early on because
Before
obviously
the show even came on.
this was filmed 2 years ago, so he's had some time to talk about this, but I agree with both of you. I enjoyed the episode, it was one of the best of the season, but like Super Tim, I was left saying, "Well, wait a minute. Why where's his backstory? What was the
Right.
reason
Yeah.
why?" And so that left me a little disappointed. I wanted to see some type of, was he
Hmm.
a Padawan? Was he a Jedi? What was he, just a pirate and he came across someone? What was the reason why he knows these force abilities
Yeah.
and seems to know his way around a lightsaber? I want to know. Actually, I was watching the Screen Crush recap of this video, and they were kind of speculating maybe he was a Padawan of Pong Krell, who was
Hmm.
um, Qui-Gon's Padawan, and then there's a Clone Wars arc where he turns bad and his clones, take him out.
So does he have to be a Padawan? Does he have to be associated with Jedi or
Well,
Sith
we
or
were
anything? Like, so to reframe that question, right? Like we saw Broom Boy in The Last Jedi, right?
Sure.
And we also have seen in Rebels and some of the other properties that there's force sensitive people out there that necessarily did not receive any level of training with the Jedi or the Sith. They just have these abilities that are, you know, let's call it untapped, right?
Sure.
Um, and so could it be believable that he is not associated with any of the uh, proclaimed faiths of the Star Wars canon, and he's simply just a bad pirate dude, grew up on the streets, grew up in the pirate world, and just has a little bit more command over these skill sets and has used them to his advantage over the years, and the wielding of the lightsaber is more so again just somebody who has the athleticism and the skill set to wield a
Sure.
weapon similar to Finn, when he first got the lightsaber in Force Awakens and taking out stormtroopers and stuff. That's just drawing on his weapons training as a stormtrooper, right? There's no lightsaber training there. So I just wonder if maybe that's what's going on with his backstory and it's not tied to any kind of you know um Jedi canon or Qui-Gon or any of the
Sure.
big characters. And I only say that because I feel like as fans, sometimes we wish that so much to be true that when it doesn't happen, it's disappointing, you know? And I'm okay if it's not, you know. It kind of actually brings something a little bit new to the storytelling mythos of Star Wars, you know. So
Right.
anyway,
And the thing is, Kevin, what you're talking about is like because in the High Republic series, they have um, specific like abilities and how they discern the Force and how they use the Force. There's a character named Ram Jamaram who uses the Force to build things, and that's how he uses the Force. Avar Chris sees the Force as a song and music.
mhm.
And so you're definitely, it doesn't have to be, but I would have liked an answer one way or the other.
Sure,
A-
sure. And maybe
And
we'll get one in the last episode. Maybe there'll
we
be a
might, we
drop or
might, we
something.
might,
Yeah.
we might. And I just feel like they've been kind of, him saying things like, "Your focus determines your reality." Him using the Force. The fact that he's very proficient with a lightsaber indicates. I mean, I see what you're saying, Kevin, but it indicates some kind of training that he
Yeah.
knows how to utilize that without you know going all over the place, because we saw that in The Mandalorian when Din Djarin used the dark saber for the first time, he cut his leg, and it shows that he's not very proficient with a saber. But Jod seemed very proficient with the saber. He knew how to point it. He knew how to use it. He knew how to use it to shield people from stopping from them going someplace. So yeah, I would have like I think because because Jude Law has been saying this is the episode where you're going to find out about Jod. This is the episode you're going to find out about Jod, and I was expecting, like the kids stuff obviously is going to be our main way in, but I also was looking to like maybe that would be juxtaposed with some flashbacks, like not a ton of flashbacks, but maybe like two sequences or
I've
something.
actually been so happy that this is the one Star Wars property as of recent nature that doesn't have flashbacks. I felt like the Acolyte just kind of did it
Sure.
in for me a little bit too much.
Yeah.
You had two
Yeah.
episodes that were essentially the exact same episode, just different point of views, and the point
Hmm.
of views weren't even that disparate for it to even feel like
Sure.
two real different episodes, you know. Um,
Yeah.
and I guess Andor didn't really have any; it was pretty linear from beginning to end. So, but yeah, I kind of like that it's not. This is just a big mystery box that will, I'm sure we'll find some things out. Maybe they're setting some things up. There could be a massive twist in this whole thing when it's all said and done. That's kind of where my head's at. Is not only how is this going to end, but what is this setting up for the future? Because I know they're hoping this is going to develop into another season and potentially and
Mhm.
stuff. I don't know if it's been announced if there's another season
It
of the
hasn't been yet.
series, and
Hasn't been
I
yet.
am seeing like the numbers for the series, the watch numbers aren't particularly great. Um,
Yeah, I saw
you
that
know,
today. Yeah.
compared to Acolyte and Andor and others, but even like just what's streaming now, and does that mean we're not going to get another season of
Yeah,
this? I don't know.
and I really hope that we do because, like you said, Kevin, the mystery box element, a lot of it is it's teasing us and setting us up for, hey, we have more to tell you, like, there's gonna be some mystery to unravel, but also along the way, unlike, I think, what Acolyte did, this one is giving you the character stuff between you're caring about
Yeah,
SM-33, you're caring about the kids, you're even caring about Jod, which I think this episode was a great heel turn in that we even said it on this show in the last episode, like, "Oh, he's gonna do his Han Solo thing, he's gonna come back and save the day,"
I don't
and
see it now.
I haven't closed the door completely on Jod, but
Sure.
it's very close. Like, the door the opening is very narrow now, and it's gonna be very hard to come back from that, but we saw Kylo Ren spoilers, we saw Kylo Ren kill his dad, and he came
5 year
back.
spoilers.
It's not necessarily like you can't come back from killing people because Jod, like you said, Brutus, he deserved it, but like he straight up killed him in cold blood, shot him like defenseless, and then he took out our guy SM-33, which I think he's gonna come back. He's not. I don't think
He's a
he's necessarily.
droid,
Yeah, he
but
can
man, it
defeat.
hurt my heart.
Can,
Yes.
can we acknowledge that the only disservice to this entire series is that Hondo Onaka is not in the show?
Ooh, man, that would be
That is a
great.
And I
solid
read an
point.
article that apparently like they couldn't find like a good place for him to fit in the
Oh
story, which I
man,
That's too
appreciate
bad.
that, right?
dang.
Like not
Yeah,
Yeah,
just shoving in fan service
right.
like characters for the sake of
but as
That
a
that.
would have.
fan, I would have
Uh,
loved to see it.
Yeah, that would have
but
been great. I know neither of you are big video gamers, but we talked about Hondo is going to be appearing in the DLC for the
okay.
current game that's out called Star Wars Outlaws. The next DLC is going to have you interacting with Hondo, and I believe it is going to be Jim Cummings doing his voice, just like in the
I love
animated.
Jim Cummings, so like
Yes,
anytime Jim Cummings gets to do anything, I'm just gonna
yes,
get super pumped about it. So it's like it would have been cool to have had an actor
a
as
live
Hondo, but
action.
like Jim Cummings voiceover or something
Yes,
like
that would
that.
have been amazing. Yeah,
Yeah,
because he is a
but
fan favorite.
and I'm still like hedging my bets one day that Dash Rendar is gonna show up. Like like and
It
again, like could have been a perfect setup for that. Maybe this guy is Dash Rendar. Maybe Jude Law's character is Dash, and he's
Yeah,
yeah, I don't
that
know.
was one of his aliases, wasn't it? It was like Dash
It was
something. He
Dash something, but it wasn't
Yeah,
Rendar. Because
right,
when he started,
right.
I was like, oh my god, like they're gonna name,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
like the Onyx Cinder has like such a cool name to it, similar to Dash Rendar's ship. And now it's
The
blanking me
Outrider.
what is yeah,
The
the
Outrider.
Outrider and stuff like that. I'm just like, I need more of that in my life.
yeah.
So
Well, this show has
Justin
been
knows this from my podcast and from some others where I've referenced that Dash Rendar is my, top 3 favorite Star Wars character.
yeah.
And Shadows of the Empire is one of my favorite deals.
Well,
So
I would say this show more than any other. I think Mando and Book of Boba Fett had a little bit of it, but this show has done the best job of incorporating Easter eggs from all types of Star Wars properties and even
mhm.
Captain EO. Like there's just been a really nice attention to detail, and if you know, you know, but if you don't, it's not stopping. You're like, "Hey, what is that from?" You just go about your day, go about your business, move along. I think this show has done the best out of all the series, that we've seen so far as paying homage to the Star Wars Easter eggs that we love to see. So, yeah, man, I really love that this episode was in a way, in my mind, in my head canon, this is revealing, like, who Jod is. It's not through flashback, but through the love of money, through greed. You see that this is what he's about. This is all he cares about more than people, more than, anything else. It's the treasure. That's like the one thing. And I also think that the treasure, he thinks that's his way back to being the captain, having the crew love him again because the very first time we see him in this, the crew does the mutiny and takes him out. So I think the treasure and like the love of money is what he's all about. But again, there's still time for him to repent and to do something honorable before this show is over. We got one more episode. Come on, John. I'm still holding out hope. Um, I really would like to get Kevin's prediction for the next episode. Where do you think? Because Kevin, there's a segment on Fuse Film where we would talk about the pitch, things that you would like to see. Kevin, for you, what are you most looking forward to for the finale of this season? Hopefully, it goes on from here, though.
Yeah, I mean, again, I kind of set that up in my initial take where I was thinking that the show was going to go the direction of they don't make it home. And like, it would kind of set up like these kids are now stuck in this sort of like Robinson the treasure hunting book, the Robinson family sort of lost in space type scenario, where they have a robot 33, they have, their kids. Maybe there's another adult figure that comes in. Maybe the parents somehow get involved, like, and it's this thing, and they're just constantly, on this adventure getting home, and and
Yeah.
we get to see the backwoods of the galaxy. We get to see more pirates. We get to see more bounty hunters, and it'd be really cool if there's like this situation where they run into Mando at some point or whatever, and like all of the events
Oh,
of the
woo!
sort of um Ahsoka and Mando and all of that stuff that's kind of being booked right now is happening in the background. That was sort of one of the ideas that I was hoping would come true, but I don't know if that's going to happen given the um that they're on At-Aten. Like something's going to have to
Mm,
happen to the planet.
right.
Um and I'm very curious who the supervisor is. Like that still hasn't. I mean, that's kind of like the Wizard of Oz kind of behind the
Yes,
curtain thing that I'm
100%.
waiting
We
on.
heard him this episode.
Yes.
Um, my theory is that it's Renok, um, and that he's the pirate that came and he's just like set up a colony there and is just kind of doing his thing.
Mhm.
I've heard other theories that it's like it's actually a cover for the First Order, and like they're using this mint as a way to fund First Order stuff in the background. Those are all very interesting theories that I could very much see playing out. But at the end of the day, like, that's all Star Wars canon mythos, memberberry stuff that'll play itself out in some way. I care most about the kids and what happens to them. And like what I
Mhm.
want to see is like I want to see these kids similar to kind of my desire to want to have a Goonies too and find out like what happened to these kids like years later or whatever. Like I just feel like like Wim is not going to be satisfied coming back home and just going back to school
Right.
after
To
this.
never go home
Mhm.
again.
You know, I don't even think Fern's going to feel that way. Like these
Mm.
kids are forever changed by their
Yes.
experience and what they're
Yes.
going through. Um, I just wonder if that's going to be something that's going to play out. So
Yeah. Man, I'm really excited to see this, final episode. Tim, do you have any directions you think that it's gonna go in,
I
for this
definitely
final episode?
think that we are going to get to a reveal of the supervisor because we did hear him in this episode. He was voiced by Stephen Fry, um, wonderful voice actor Stephen Fry, uh, and um, and so I think we're definitely going to get like the supervisor. It's interesting that Kevin mentioned Mando connections. There has already been a Mandalorian connection in this show so far, and that's the character Vane. Um, and he's kind of like the weird face. He's got a kind of weird face, and he's got like spikes on his head and stuff. So we've had that Mandalorian
yeah,
connection. So that's been kind of cool. So seeing that because they were actually going to kill him off in the Mandalorian, but John Watts like no, let's use this guy. We can use this guy in my show, and I definitely think that I'm because we have Jod's motivations now, we know what he's all about. We know that he's not a great guy as we thought he might have been. It might have been like kind of a roguish Han Solo character. He does have moments where when Brutus is going to shoot down the Onyx Cinder, he says, "Wait, no, stop." Um, but is that because the kids can lead him to the treasure, or does he really care about the kids? Is it both? So I'm hoping we get some resolution to that. I definitely think normal life for these kids is over.
yep,
Uh, because that's all that's just Star Wars storytelling right there. You can never go home again. That's always a theme of Star Wars is once you start your adventure, you just keep moving forward. And so I think that we will probably see where their lives are headed and where they're going as kids and as people. And I'm really looking forward to seeing that, going into the end of this season and the end of season 2. I definitely think that I'm definitely in agreement with Kevin that Tak Renard is the supervisor and he's kind of set up shop at At-Aten to kind of like protect the treasure. He's the Flint in Treasure Island. He's keeping an eye on his treasure, and there's a reason why his ship is the only way that can get in. Also, I did want to say about the about At-Aten's exterior is when we talk about the barrier, I didn't realize the barrier was so huge. The barrier was like I always imagined the barrier around the planet just encompassing just the whole planet and that's it, but it's like all around the planet, like really expansive around the planet, and that was a huge surprise to me. And I really enjoyed
Yeah,
that.
I always thought it was like an atmosphere, like just a small like layer. But yeah, the fact that it was like almost a planet itself engulfing the planet, it was like, wow, this is really incredible how they designed this barrier.
Mhm.
Um,
Well,
one thing
because
I was going to mention too.
when we saw the planet, like because it's so small, I'm like, I thought we were already there.
Yeah. I wanted to go back to something you guys said earlier about Ja and just, his origins likely being something related to Order 66 and Jedi and things like that. And I have seen that and it does make sense. And I feel like there is this Lucasfilm storytelling group uh that are kind of pushing the idea of like younglings that survived the purge and what happened to these younglings and what kind of life are they living now in the galaxy having dealt with that trauma, you know seeing their friends getting killed by Anakin or killed by a clone trooper or whatever. And it is very much possible that Ja is very much one of those types of victims of that and has chosen this life of piracy and crime and stuff, and money is all that matters to him because it's what else would matter to somebody who's gone through something like that. So
Yeah, that would be very interesting, and they've done a lot as in terms of novels and comic books to explore a lot of those people that the survivors of Order 66. But it's funny because it's almost getting to the point like where Superman ended up, where he was originally supposed to be the last survivor of Krypton, but then okay, here's his cousin, here's a horse, here's a monkey, here's a dog, here's a cat, and I was like,
Here's Zod. Here's
yeah,
the
here's
model
all the
city of
prisoners.
Kandor.
Like, where's all these
Well,
people
like
coming
what they
from?
say in Smallville, I thought I was the last son of Krypton, but you people keep popping up.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
that's what I feel like the Order 66
Mhm.
survivors are like the Krypton survivors. I just
Yeah.
found that funny. But yeah, Kevin, you bring up a great point. Like it doesn't necessarily have to be that it was, the specific Jedi, like the cut and dry that we're thinking of. Because if you think about Riva from the Obi-Wan show, she was kind of like the same thing where we thought it was one specific thing and then she turned out to be another thing. Jod could be the same, like very similar to Riva
well,
in that maybe
Yeah.
he
I
was
I
in the he was in the order and then like he got turned at some point.
I like that you have three different like paths, right? Cal Kestis goes to the Jedi, Riva goes to the Empire, and Jod goes to you know piracy, right? It's kind of a neat little triumvirate of different paths.
Yeah, and then you have Kanan who does go the Jedi path. So he
Yeah.
goes from being raised from a Jedi and then goes forward and takes on an apprentice of his own. So
Yeah.
yeah.
So
But
there's
yeah,
some
it's definitely been an overplayed aspect. That's for sure. The Order 66 survivors. I think
yes.
people are getting tired of like, oh, here's another Order 66 survivor. Yeah.
I
Well,
don't know what's
I'm
worse,
very
that or Palpatine survived. I don't know
oh,
which
yeah.
one is.
Somehow Palpatine
Well,
returned.
Palpatine only survived once.
Yeah.
So
I'm very interested to hear if you, our listeners, our viewers out there, if you have any theories about the upcoming episode. Next week is the finale, hopefully just the season finale and not the series finale of Skeleton Crew. We're all enjoying it. We want to know, are you enjoying it? Don't forget, you will always check our thoughts here on Trust in the Force. We're talking Star Wars. Coming up, we have we just released our best of 2024 episode. We've got our 2025 episode coming out here shortly, what we're looking forward to, as well as we're going to be talking all about Andor season 1. We're doing an Andor rewatch leading up to season 2. Kevin, if you are an Andor fan, we would love to have you join us again. Um,
Absolutely. I'll be here anytime you guys need me.
Yes, but if
all
you
right.
love Kevin Call, if you like hearing his voice or my own, you can check us out on the Dads to the Future podcast, where we're talking about being dads, thoughtful fathers in our current age. We just had a great episode talking about the difference between millennial fathers and previous generations, baby boomers, Gen Xers. So definitely check that out. Some great stuff talking on Dads to the Future. And Super Tim is actually going to hopefully be a future guest on Dads to the Future because he is a great father himself. So we're definitely going to have some good episodes coming up in the future. I'll have some links in our show notes in our description if you want to check out our dad podcast. But Kevin, thank you for joining us on this episode. You're always a great guest, my friend.
Welcome.
And Super Tim, thank you for being the Jedi Grand Master. Thank you for all of your hard work, my friend. And we love having you here as well. We love having you, the viewers. And please join us again next time. We would be honored if you would join us.
Trust only in the Force.